Um, a man may not go out neither with wood, with a sword, nor a bow, nor a shield, nor a buckler, or with a spear. If he went out, he's liable for a katas. Rabbi Eliezer says they are adornments for him, but the sages say they are nothing but a disgrace, as it is said, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. One nation now does not lift up a sword against another nation, neither shall they learn war any more. A garter is not susceptible to tumor contamination, and we may go out with it on Shabbos. Ankle chains are susceptible to tumor contamination, and they may not go out with them on Shabbos. A woman may go out with bands of hair, whether of her own hair or of her companion's hair, or of an animal's hair, or with frontlet, or with head bangles, when they are sewn, or with a forehead pad, or with a wig into a courtyard, with wadding in their ear, or with wadding in her sandal, with wadding prepared for a menses, with a pepper, or with a gobble of salt, or with anything that she will put into her mouth, provided that she does not put it initially on the Sabbath. And if it fell out, she may not put it back. A false tooth or a tooth with a gold crown, Rabbi Yehuda ben Nasi permits them, but the Chachamim prohibit them. She may go out with a cellar that is on a wound on the sole of a foot. Young girls may go out with the threads or even with the slivers that are in their ears. Arabian women may go out veiled, and medium women may go out with their cloaks fastened over their shoulders. Indeed, all people may do so, but the sages spoke out of the actual custom.
Okay. Porefes al ha'evan ve'al ha'egos ve'al ha'matbea. So what we're talking about here is making a fastening mechanism, right? Where if you've got a buttonhole on one side and you take part of the cloak and you want to push it through the buttonhole and something needs to hold it in place, so you can use something like a stone or a coin or a nut. Okay, and even though some of these things are muktzah, the stone and the coin would otherwise be muktzah. But if you did this before Shabbos, and you set it up that this is your nut, then effectively you've designated it as a fastener for your cloak.
Right.
And not only that, but if you go out into the street with it, that nut or that coin or whatever it is not considered a masai. It's part of the garment.
Right. It is when it says provided she does not fasten it initially on
Right.
Shabbos, but
That that
she designates it mentally that this stone is going to be used or this coin is going to be used.
that
That's fine.
that would also be okay, I think. Look at wait. Because the nut is not mukta. It's not in a question here of mukta. Um, as long as she doesn't designate, as long as she doesn't Gemara explains that this is just for the coin. Yeah.
Uh,
This should
it
look
kind of
yeah, it is mukta. It is because of a din of mukta. So
it
then
kind of reminds me of
she designated
said
it before. If she
right.
doesn't say before and said this is going to be my fastening thing, then that would be legit.
Because to me it seemed like the same thing. Like if you had if you put out dirt that you were going to cover, and it was a time that if you didn't have the dirt, you couldn't cover it, or you put a brick or something that was muksa, by a door to hold it open or something
Yeah.
like that. The
Yeah.
same kind of thing, right? Okay.
Okay. Okay. Hakiteya. This is an amputee. He's lost one of his legs. Yotzei b'kav shelo, divrei Rabbi Meir. So Rabbi Meir says if he's got a peg leg, this is kind of what we're talking about over here. We're not talking about modern prostheses. We're
Right.
talking about basically a peg leg. Um, and Rabbi Meir says, well, that's basically like that's like a shoe for him, and therefore he can go out with it.
Mm.
Rabbi Yossi Oser, he says, no, this is not considered a shoe because let's just see, there was a comment why Dato אין הכוונה עכשיו נalo שכן הקיצה סומך בעיקר על okay, because he's not going out with just like walking left right on his one leg and his crutch and his peg leg. He's got crutches as well, so the ikar of his weight is going on the crutches, and therefore this thing over here is not something that he's even putting weight on. He's just putting it
Uh-huh.
there for appearance's sake, and therefore it's
Right.
considered a masoi. Okay. Im yesh lo base kibul kisusim. So let's say from his on the base of the peg leg, he's got some clothing that
Right.
to cushion his stump. That so now the peg leg itself has got a receptacle to put those clothes in, then it is susceptible to tumah. Okay, because it's typically made out of wood, and wood is only we've learned about wood and kalim. They're only susceptible to tumah if they have a receptacle, and this is considered a receptacle. Okay, samochos shelo tmein midras, and furthermore, the blankets that or whatever the cloth that you put in its place is susceptible to midras tumah, as opposed to you have normal beged tumah that people have, and this has got midras tumah because he's putting his weight on it. V'yot in let's just check what Samach Chassan Mishana or Shal Eitz. Oh, actually, it's not Afghan cloth. It's the Kitaya who's lost both his legs, and is walking around on his knees, on his stumps. There, Osim Lo Samachos. You make him these supports, which are actually supports of leather or of wood, um, that he can lean on. Okay, and these things are susceptible to Midrash Tumah as well. V'yotzin bahen b'Shabbos, but he is allowed to go out with this on Shabbos because it's considered like his shoes. Because
Right.
that
Right.
is how he goes out, and it's okay. We should what Shabbos b'nichnasin bahen ba'azar, and in fact, he's even allowed to go into the temple grounds with this, and it's not now normally you're not allowed to wear shoes on the Har Bayis, but this is not considered a shoe; it's just considered part of his regular garments. Kisei v'samachos shelo. What's this kisei is also something to do with the amputee. He's got basically like a little wheelchair, okay, and
All right.
he can push himself around on this chair. So the kisei and its supports tamei and midras, they are considered tamei midras because he's putting his weight on them. The ein yotz in vahem b'Shabbos, and he cannot take these things out into the street. It's considered a separate. It's a masoi. Ve'ein nichnasin bahen ba'azara, and furthermore he cannot come into the azara wearing with these things because they are not because they actually are considered like shoes to come into the azara.
Right.
Explain that shtei halachos achronos and yotzin Shabbos and azara. Um, okay, so okay. Okay, I'm going to leave that commentary there. Unkatmin Tahorin. So the unkatmin, this is like a hob what do they call it? A hobby horse? It's basically it's a mask. It's a big
Mask. Right. Yeah.
it's a big mask that they put on it for plays and things, and
Right.
that is considered tahor as far as a kli is concerned. It's not considered a kli. And ein yotzin bahin, and you cannot go out into the street on Shabbos wearing one of these.
Mm.
Habanim yotzin baksharim, little boys who long for their father, and the father, can't hang around babysitting the boys all the time. Um, so so apparently there was a remedy for this, and he takes the shoelace out of his shoe, and he wraps it around the arm. So that wrapping around the arm makes them feel like, oh, Abba's with me, and it makes them more able to deal with their longing for their father. So now he wants to go out in the street with his laces on. No, it's okay. Abanim yotzin b'ksharim. They're allowed to go out. Ubnei melachim bezugin. And furthermore, the princes who have fancy clothes with little bells stitched onto them. They're allowed to go out wearing those things into the street. V'chol adam, actually, any person can do that. Just like we said yesterday about the customary clothing of the Arabian girls and of the Median girls. So similarly, the Shaila came to Chachamim with the Bnei Melachim, and they said it's mutar, and anyone else who wants to do it is also mutar.
It also says in the commentary that the clappers and the bells have to be taken out
Yeah,
so they don't make any noise on
that makes
Shabbos.
that makes sense.
Right. Okay.
Back to base bay.
All right. Our base. We may not light with oil that must be burnt on Yom Tov, and Reb Yishmael says we may not wait mitar because of honor due to Shabbos. But the common permit lighting with all oils, namely with the sesame, with nut, radish, and with fish oil, or with colocynth oil, or with tar, or with naphtha. Reb Tarfon says we may light only with olive oil. We may not light with any product of a tree except flax, and so no tree product can contract tumor contamination from sheltering a contaminated object except flax. I have a comment here. I wrote, that's why we did it last. I wrote NOLAD. There's NOLAD, something about NOLAD in here.
Yeah, um, oh, because you're turning because right, we have a question about making this wick.
Uh-huh. Okay. Right. Oh, right, because completion. Okay. All right, good. Okay, got that. Okay. A wick made from a cloth that was one twisted but did not singe. Reb Eliezer says it is susceptible to tumor contamination and may not light with it. Reb Akiva says it is not susceptible to tumor contamination and we may light with it. However, wait, no, that's it, right? Is that it?
One more.
No,
Yeah.
one more, right. Okay. One may not pass an eggshell, fill it with oil, and put it over the mouth of a lamp so the oil will drip, even if the container is of earthenware. But Rabbi Yehuda permits this. However, if the potter attached it originally, it is permitted because it is a single vessel. One may not fill the bowl with oil, put it beside a lamp, and put the end of the wick into it and the bowl so that it will draw oil, but Rabbi Yehuda permits this. Okay, got that. And we now have challah. Challah. Um, Dalit. Test. No, there. Reb Gamliel says there are three lands regarding challah. From as Eretz Yisrael to Kezav, from one challah. From Kezav up the river up to Amana, two challah. One for the fire, one for the priest. The one for the fire has a measure, but the one for the priest has no measure. From the river and Amana inward, two chalos. One for the fire, one for the priest. The one for the fire has no measure, but the one for the priest has a measure. And a Tebel Yom may eat it. Excuse me, but your Rav Yossi says he does not require immersion, and it is forbidden to Zavam and Zavot, neither, and women after childbirth, and may be eaten at a table with a non-priest and may be given to any priest. Okay. And the following may be given to any priest: devoted things, the firstborn, the redemption of the price of a son, the ransom of the firstborn of a donkey, the shoulder, the two cheeks, and the maw, the first of the fleece. Oil must be burnt, holy things of the temple, and first fruits. Rabbi Yehuda forbids the first fruits, vetches of truma. Rabbi Akiva permits, but the sages forbid. Nita of Tekoa brought challah from Betar, but they did not accept them from him. The men of Alexandria brought their challah from Alexandria, but they did not accept them from them. The men of Har Teviom brought their bikurim before Shavuos, but they did not accept them from them because of what is written in the Torah. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of your labors, which you sow in the field.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to finish this tomorrow.
That's correct. And then on to Orla. Okay, Shavias.
Okay. Yes. Right. Okay.
Hey.
Hey. One may not take out oil that must be burnt to the and seventh year produce from Eretz Israel beyond Eretz Israel. Reb Shimon said, I heard expressly that one may take them to Syria, but not beyond Eretz Israel. One may not bring in truma from beyond Eretz Israel into Eretz Israel. Reb Shimon said, I heard expressly that one may bring in from Syria, but not one may not bring from beyond Eretz Israel. And they laid down an important principle regarding the seventh year. Whatever is human food or cattle food or a species of dying matter which does not keep in the ground, the seventh year applies to it and its proceeds. Biur applies to it and its proceeds. When which are they? The leaves of the wild loaf and leaves of mint, chicory, leeks, portulac, and milkweed. In cattle food, thorns and thistles, and of any of the species of dying matter. Aftergrowth of woad and matter, and the seventh year applies to them and their proceeds, and beer applies to them and their proceeds. Okay.
Hey, Torah.
And Horos. Okay. Aleph. There are 13 things concerning the carcass of a kosher bird. It needs intention. It does not need preparation. It conveys the tumor of foods in the volume of an egg. The volume of an olive conveys tumor in the esophagus. Someone who eats it needs the setting of the sun. One is liable on account for entering the temple, and truma is burned on its account. Someone who eats a limb severed from it while it is alive receives 40 lashes, and its slaughtering and milika renders the trefa to be tahor. These are the words of Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says they do not render it tahor, and Rabbi Yossi says its slaughtering renders it tahor, and not its milika. The feathers and the down acquire tumor and convey tumor, but do not combine. Rabbi Yishmael says the small feathers combine, the beak and the claws acquire tumor and convey tumor and combine. Rabbi Yossi says even the tips of the wings and the tip of the sail combine, since these are left on fattened birds. And the carcass of a non-kosher bird needs intention and preparation. It conveys the tumor of foods in the volume of an egg, half a half a loaf to qualify the person. It does not have the lower volume of an olive in the esophagus. Someone who eats this does not need the setting of the sun, and one is not liable on its account for entering the temple. But truma is burned on its account, and someone who eats a limb severed from it while it's alive does not receive 40 lashes, and its slaughterer does not render it tahor. The large feathers and the small feathers acquire tumor and convey tumor and combine, and the beak and the claws acquire tumor, convey tumor, and combined. Yeah. This reminds me, my friend went yesterday with Rabbi Hanan or something. They went to watch
Escape.
slaughtering.
Oh,
Esquita,
I
yeah.
missed it. I wanted to go to that actually.
I
Oh,
didn't even hear about it, but I don't know if that's up for me. I don't know.
oh damn, I actually wanted to go to that.
He said it was really, I said, to bring anything home to eat? He said, yeah, we have a chicken. It's in the freezer. My wife doesn't really want to touch it, but
Ah,
yeah, I don't know who did it.
wait, let's see, where's
But
the
Karan didn't do the shkita, but
ah, I thought they were going to give us a on June 8th, yeah, in the morning. Damn, and
you saw a notice about it? I never saw
yeah, but
anything about it.
they said no, no, it was I'm on the group with them and yeah, there were no
Oh,
reminders sent out. Bust.
sorry. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. We have Zvachim and we are on Yudalit Hay. They came to giggle and the Bamas were permitted. The most holy offerings were
Wait, I
eaten
think
with.
we're on Dalid. I think we're on Dalid. Yeah, we're on Dalid.
Oh, I guess I turned the page. Okay. Um, Yudalit Dalit. Until the tabernacle was erected, Bamas were permitted and the service was performed by the firstborns. When the tabernacle was erected, the Bamas became forbidden and the service was performed by Kohanim. The most holy offerings were eaten within the curtains, the offerings of lesser holiness throughout the Israeli camp. They came to Gilgal and the Bamas were permitted. The most holy offerings were eaten within the curtains, the offerings of lesser holiness could be eaten anywhere. When they came to Shiloh, the Bamas were forbidden, and there was no roof there, but a stone house beneath and a canopy of cloth above, and it was the resting place. The most holy offerings were eaten within the curtains, and the offerings of lesser holiness of Meister Sheni anywhere within sight.
Okay,
Okay.
that's it.
We're going to finish this soon too. So I
Yeah,
know it's going to select
with Menachos.
Monacos. Okay, we still have that tomorrow anyway. So okay, and done. Okay, dollar. If someone was prohibited by another to benefit from another, and the latter entered to visit him, he may stand but not sit. He may afford him a healing of his person, but not a healing of his property. He may bathe with him in a large pool, but not in a small one. He may sleep with him on the same bed. The Yehuda says in the summer, but not in the winter, for then he benefits him, and he may recline with him on the bed. He may eat with him on the same table, but not from the same plate. However, he may eat with him on a plate that goes back to the host. He may not eat with him from the worker's food bowl. He may not work with him on the same row. And these are the words of Ramea. And the Kakaman, however, say he may work far from him. Some are prohibited by an enemy prior to Shemitah to benefit from another, may not enter his field, and may not eat overhanging fruit. However, if the netter was made in Shemitah, he may not enter his field, but he may eat from the overhanging fruit. If prior to Shemitah he made a nether prohibiting food-related benefits, he may enter the field, but he may not eat the fruits. If he made the nether in the Shemitah, he may enter the field and eat. Someone prohibited by a nether to benefit from another shall not lend him, nor shall he borrow from him, nor shall he lend him money, nor shall he borrow money from him, nor shall he sell to him, nor shall she buy from him. He said to him, lend me your cow. He responded, it is not available. He said, Kona, my field with respect to your plowing with it. If this was his practice to plow, he is forbidden. But other people are permitted. If it is not a practice to plow, he and all other people are forbidden.
Okay, and
Okay,
done.
great. Okay,
Okay.
Just to take out all of it tomorrow. Okay. Okay. Have
Okay.
a great
You
day. I'll see you.
have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Bye. Bye.